Hey Queens, good afternoon. I hope everyone is having a great day. I wanted to get on here to talk about young girls loving themselves. So, over the weekend, something happened involving my son. My son is 13, going on 14 in January. And let's just say I found out some things about him that I didn't know. So, I always look at my son as being very mild-mannered. Very respectful, in which he is. You know, he's a sweet boy. Far from innocent. And that's what I guess I thought he was, you know. Make a long story short, last weekend, I was getting some things out of the storage for Halloween. My flashlight died on me, so I needed a phone. I didn't have mine there. So I asked my son for his phone. And I say, hey son, can I use your flashlight? So I get the phone and I see GF Heart from Snapchat. So I'm like, GF? Who is this? So I'm asking Jalen, like, you know, who's this girl? Oh my, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. This, that, and the third. Now, I know my son lie. He lies. And I've caught him in many lies before. And I always tell my children, what happens in the dark comes out in the light. Always. It's always that way. So I'm like, okay, cool. Keeping an eye on it. So then I go further to look at the snap. And I see, good night, handsome. I love you too. You must be on your game. Child, what do you know about love? You know, so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. But I think I need to have a conversation with him. So I went a little above that comment. And I seen some other things from the little girl. I seen that she sent some inappropriate pictures and, you know, some videos. And I'm like, girl, you only like 13 to 12. 12 or 13, what are you doing? You know, so I asked my son, I asked him about it. He said, Ma, no, she didn't. She didn't send me anything. And I said, Jalen, the pictures and the videos have the same shirt in it. I don't even have to see her face. Don't play. So he's like, I didn't know, playing dumb. And I said, okay. All right, cool. So I said, where you meet this girl? You know, he said, I met her in school. I said, okay, cool. So I had a conversation with him about women and how women can be manipulative and how women can be faster than boys. And it went on from there. And he's like, Ma, okay, I know this, blah, blah, blah. You told me this, da, 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 da. I have to be real with him. And I'm very honest and I'm an open book with him. I don't sugarcoat anything, especially not because of what I've been through and what I see out here, you know. So I always try to enlighten him and give him the tea on what's going on out here because he needs to know. He's getting older. I've been talking to him since he was probably 6 years old because I felt that I needed to. And I'm different with my children. I don't sugarcoat anything. But I only give them what they can assimilate or what I feel they can assimilate and handle at the time, you know. So, make a long story short, we had the conversation. As the week went on, I'm asking about the girl, asking him, you know, hey, did you see that girl this week? Who is she? You like her? How much you like her? Just asking him different questions, picking at his head, you know, just to see where he is. So, Friday came. I asked him, I said, hey, Jalen, did you see the girl today? You know, he's like, yeah, I seen that we were in Magnet today. My son is an engineer, is an engineering program, so it's called Magnet. And he, you know, told me that he's seen her there. And I said, oh, did you sit next to her? He said, well, we have to, Mom. We do projects. I said, okay, okay. Saturday comes, and I don't allow my children to eat anywhere else other than the kitchen, because I don't want rodents, I don't want bugs, I don't like all of those things. So I came in the house and I found down the basement that he was eating down there because I found a piece of meat. And I'm like, what is this? You know, he's like, oh, sorry, Ma. I said, but you know how important it is not to eat around the house. And, you know, I stress this. You know how I feel about this. So he's like, you know, okay. So I'm like, you got to vacuum. You got to get off your game, and you have to vacuum the entire basement and leading up the steps, because I have carpet in my house. So that's why we have to vacuum. So he like, okay, you know, Meg got an attitude because he got to get off the game. He about to get into a match. That's not my problem. That's not my concern. So my goal is to teach these children lessons and to teach them that there are consequences, positive consequences, negative consequences based off of your actions. So I'm like, you got to get off the game. You got to handle this. So after that, you know, he started showing me more attitude. And I'm like, you know what? That girl getting in his head. So I told him to give me his phone. So give me your phone, because I feel like, you know, your attitude been a little off. And, you know, you talking to this little girl. What's going on, you know? But he pins the conversation. And, I mean, I went from at that moment to day one. And I seen a whole lot more than what I bargained for. But I needed to know these things. I found out so much in little time. You know, all because of the situation regarding the meat being on the floor. So, when I went to the very beginning of the conversation, I was like, wow, really, Jalen? So, he said some really derogatory things in there to the girl and was asking her certain things. And I'm like, what in the world do you know about this and that and the third? So then I see the little girl. She's like, okay, she had some reservations about it. And she's like, no, I ain't into that. I don't do that. You know, and I'm like, okay. So at this point, if I were her, I would have just cut it off. Like, oh no, I'm not about this. This is not what I do. This is not the place for me. Talk to you another time, or see you around or something. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go down further, you know, oh, well, I don't even know you. Well, I don't know you. Well, let me see a picture. So I'm like, Jalen, you told me that you knew this girl when she was in your school. So, okay, he's meeting people off of Snapchat. All right, cool. Okay, you lied. You lied to me. I cannot stand when someone lies to me. That is the biggest pet peeve of mine. That is something that I just cannot handle. I can't deal with a liar. On no regards. In no regards, no level. Like, I can't deal with it. I know people lie. People tell stories all day. But when it becomes a habit and you're doing it to just save face or to get out of it, and it's like it's habitual and it's becoming the norm, I have a problem with that. So I'm like, okay, you don't know that he doesn't really know the girl. But then he asking all these things, and he's talking about all these things like he's experienced these things. Well, shoot. Then I backed up and said, hold up. Because another situation happened. It had me thinking, like, maybe I don't know my son like I thought I did, you know. I thought he was shy. So, I was really upset with things that I seen in the chat and everything. I'm not going to disclose it, give it in detail. But it was on some grown people type stuff. Like, you ain't no kid if you know these things, you know. And which kids, I know he got friends and they talk. You know, young boys that grow into adolescence, hormones. It's just going everywhere. So I get it. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm upset with the fact that he lied about me. When I caught him in a lie, I'm telling him, like, you know, you need to stop lying. You doing this and you're doing that. He started to talk back. And he doesn't talk back to me normally. But it was the things that he know that I seen that I guess upset him. And he's like, whatever at this point. So I found out that he was sharing my address, my location. And the little girl was still texting him at this time. And I'm like, seeing these things, like, girl, do your mother and your dad know the things that you're talking about? Like, the things that you're doing? So I text and I said, hey, you want to be very careful with being on social media, talking to people and sharing your address and your pictures, because you never know who you're talking to. It's very dangerous. Oh my God, I'm sorry, ma'am. I read the things, and I read how the little girl responded, and I looked at things that she was asking for my son. I just want your attention. And, you know, oh, I love you so much. And the way that he was expressing himself is, he was being more physical. Oh, I want to touch this, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And she was like, oh, really? You know, falling for it. And, you know, little do he know, he was being manipulative. And little do she know, she was falling into the trap. I'm thinking last week that he was being manipulated, but it looks like he was the one that was manipulating. And then I found out some things about that little girl reading, because I could identify. After that, I asked the little girl, I said, listen, can I talk with your parents? Someone needs to know about this. Well, I just got my account back. And I'm like, listen, you won't be able to talk to my son again. I need to speak with your mother or your father. So I get a call, and I answered it on Snap. And the lady was on a defense. As soon as she got on the phone, she was belligerent. She was disrespecting me. And I'm like, listen, who the you talking to? I'm trying to tell you about your hot girl. You know, my hot girl. You can see me and be this and be that. And this, come see me. My daughter don't know your son. Her account got hacked. So at that moment, I already knew what the little girl told her mother, and I knew how she went about the story. And that I knew that this wasn't the first time that this happened because of the mother's reaction. She told her mother that her account was hacked. She don't know the little boy. And she didn't have any messages to show because she didn't pin her messages. Well, she unpinned them. So I said, you know, I hung up. I don't have time for this. I'm really upset at this point. So I'm like, you know what? Let me make sure this little boy didn't tell her my address or tell where he's from. Man, I go on location services where, you know, on Snap, you have the little dots and your friends is right here. Your friends are right here. And he's sharing his location. And I mean, it gives a real-time shot of the house, the roof, the intercepting streets, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, all it takes is for someone to come and just post up and watch. And you don't even know it. So I'm very upset at this time. I am livid. 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 I was really upset. I was livid. And I'm just like, you know, I am livid at this point. And he went to sleep. I was so upset. I never talk to my children using the word dumb or stupid. I never even like to say your actions are stupid, but I'm like, Jalen, this is stupid. Stupid. So he was like, I don't care. You can call me stupid, blah, blah, blah. So then I felt bad about everything. And, you know, I was just really upset, really nervous. Because I'm like, I don't know. I'm looking, and I had turned it off. He's sharing my address with all kinds of people. And he don't even know these people, never seen him. And I'm thinking of sex trafficking, all of these different things that's going through my head. And I'm like, so I didn't really get good sleep that night because my son's like my best friend, you know, like, son, you know, hey, Ma, it's almost Friday. Hey, Ma, how you doing today? I never have a day where I don't, you know, speak with my son or I'm that upset with him. So I told my best friend about it, and he spoke with Jalen. And he told me, you know, some things that as a woman you can't do. You have to let a male take care of it, you know. So I even reached out to his father, and I don't talk to him and everything. I had to use his phone to do it, you know, because He's not really around like he should be. And I'm like, look, you got to get on this. Look at this, you know. So that's how you knew at that moment it was serious. So my best friend spoke with him and everything, and you know, he told me that how I reacted wasn't it wasn't a way that I should have reacted, but it was normal for a mother to react that way. And I thought about some things, and I had been feeling bad that entire day anyway. So I went and I talked to Jalen. I had a very good conversation with him, a heart to heart. I explained to him that I love him, and I explained to him, you know, how I know I can't control everything he does because he's going to school. I don't know what he's doing there, but I just pray that he is making the best decisions based off of what I'm teaching him and just listening to what I'm telling him when I'm pouring into him, you know. And I said, can you just promise me that you'll try to make the best decision? That's all I asked. And he said, yeah, Ma, you know. And I'm like, I apologize. I know I didn't come off the best way, but, you know, or deliver how I was feeling and disciplining and reprimanding in the best way, but I apologize, I'll do better. And I'm like, I've gotten better over the years. He said, yeah, Ma, you got better. You're doing better. And I said, listen to him, you know, because I had him when I was 19, so we're growing together, you know. So after that, one important thing I wanted to know, and I wanted him to know, this was a big lesson. This was very important that he understood what was going on. I said, son, do you know why she needed so much of your attention? Why do you think she wanted so much of your attention? And that message that she wrote, I just want your attention. I want all of your attention. He said, yeah, Ma, it's because of two things. Either two things. It's out of two things. And I said, what? He said, because she really may like me and she wants my attention. She really likes me. And the second thing is because she's not getting attention. At that point, I gave my son a gold medal. Because he understands and he can identify what I can identify. And I identify with that young girl. Because I was in her shoes before. I know some things I'm like, I wouldn't accept. I know better. I knew in the 6th grade the things that those guys were doing, flashing us and trying to grab our butts and stuff like that. I already knew that wasn't right. And I'm like, look, you ain't going to talk to me like this, or you ain't going to do that. But the attention piece, she wanted attention from an adolescent boy who's growing himself, who doesn't have it to offer. But she wants the attention because she obviously is not getting it from somewhere else. And after that conversation with her mother, my daughter was with me the whole day, and then what you talk about after that? It goes to show me, you know, what kind of household she could possibly be in. And I'm not judging. I just know from past experience, you know, what this little girl's household may be like. And I can only imagine that she's never gotten the attention that she needed, especially possibly from a male. You know, I don't know if her dad is in her life or if he's around, but I really felt for the little girl. She has self-esteem issues. She is not getting the appropriate attention at home. She does not have a dad. It could be all of those things above, but I can identify, I notice she has self-esteem issues. Because the things that he said, he wasn't disrespectful. He was just direct. But he was bold. And if I were her, I would have been cut him off. Like, I see what you're about. Bye. How dare you? But no, she continued to talk to him, hoping that maybe if I, you know, exchange pictures of some sort of what he may want, what I think he may want, then I may get love in return. And that's the wrong way to go about things. And she was being manipulated. He was manipulated. Neither one of them knew what was going on. It was very innocent. He didn't know that. You know, had he known what was going on, that he was manipulating her, it possibly could have gotten further than what it was. So the message to you all young girls out there, because you will be watching, you're going to watch. Love yourself first. I didn't have a dad growing up. Didn't have many male role models. I didn't have any male role models who I could look up to. That was the right kind of role models for me. To show me love. It came later on in life with my big brother. And then my big sister was there. My oldest brother. But it was a little too late. You know, I was already at that point too far gone. But I did have him at some point when I grew older into my adolescent years and I was getting ready to reach adulthood. And my sister tried. But this self-love and this self-confidence is something that has to be instilled in a child beyond those years. I'm talking toddler, preschool. They have to know that they're loved. And they have to know that they're great. And they're beautiful. And they're wonderful. I didn't really hear those things either coming up too much. But I always do my best, especially my little girls. I'm not going to say any names. But I hope whoever needs to hear this message hears it. Your daughters need you, dads. You are their first love. You have to show them what to run away from. Show them what to accept. And show them what they need. And give them the confidence and the self-esteem that they need. I know how important it is because I didn't have it. And because of that, because I lacked things that I should have had from a male, I had challenges. Still have challenges. But I'm learning. I had to learn the hard way. So, with that being said, moms too, hold your daughters every day. Kiss them. Tell them you love them. Tell them how beautiful they are. Encourage them. Inspire them. Help them grow. Dive into whatever their interests are so they will not be bored on Snapchat looking for love in young boys. Okay? Tell them that you love them. Spend time with them. Talk to them. Educate them. Motivate them. Empower them. Until next time, queens. Take care. Subscribe. Like my channel. Thank you so much for watching.